Wow, a finishing masterclass we got today in the SA20. A double header that saw DSG take on Sunrisers Eastern Cape and JSK take on their rivals Pretoria Capitals. So this weekend has been full of derbies, as you could see. We've seen now JSK play Pretoria Capitals twice, and we've seen as well MI Cape Town take on their bitter rivals, Paul Royals, at home and winning that match. And then they go into Paul tomorrow to try and beat them again. And Paul Royals obviously going to try and get a victory there. But today's discussion is going to be all about the South African players as per usual. Don't get a break yet, Cricket Fanatics Mag. We said that we're going to be focused on South African performances and go live when they do perform. And once again, South Africans did not disappoint. They were absolutely fantastic in the way they approached their games today. We've been looking for finishers. We've been looking for guys that can start putting up their hands as finishers of the game. But there's a lot more to it than just finishing that I want to discuss on today's show, because the two players that did their jobs for their teams, chasing down totals from pressure situations and getting a victory for their side. Those are the important factors. But the match situation at when they came in is important when it comes to their finishing ability. This wasn't just a ordinary uh, finishing display that we expect necessarily from finishers in general. When you try and define what a finisher is, you're normally talking about a finisher as someone that comes in later on in an innings and wins a game for you. This was a little bit different, and I want to get into that today. There's also some bowlers that really stood out from a South African's perspective that I also want to discuss. But before we get going, before we get started, please help us get to that milestone. Our next milestone is 5,000 subscribers. So click the subscribe button and that notification bell for all future videos, please, to get us there. And I would also like you guys to subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. And I'd also like you guys to help us out with something new that we launched. Send this to all your friends and family and people that you may know, colleagues that are entrepreneurs or are small business owners to medium business owners, and tell them that Cricket Fanatics Magazine has now launched the Business Corner that's going to help all businesses, entrepreneurs market their brands, services, or their products cheaply, affordably, and effectively to a cricket audience. We are the only viable option if you want to do so. So go ahead and get them to follow this link on the screen as well as in the description. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. It is a lot to cover, guys. It's two games that took place, and I'm looking forward to discussing this with you guys. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your SA20 Watch. I'm your host, Khalid Moedin. And this is the show where we talk about all the South Africans that have performed in the SA20. And today we've had two games, two very important games for both sides. The defending champions, Sunrisers Eastern Cape, haven't necessarily got off to a smooth uh, start, while DSG got off to a good start, and now they faced some difficult times, I would say, as a unit after getting such a clean start to the tournament. So let's discuss first and foremost what took place with the DSG game against Sunrisers Eastern Cape. The tournament is really starting to heat up now, and teams are starting to find their rhythms, the ones that got slow starts. Sunrisers is one of them. They were unfortunate to start off with that rained out game, but then since they've had one defeat, but they've now got two wins, very important wins as well now, with this particular victory against Durban Supergiants in Durban. Now, to understand the match situation first and foremost, I think we need to go there first because the Durban Supergiants elected to bat first after winning the toss. And once again, Matthew Brzezinski got a good start. And I'm impressed with the way his approach to the T20 game and how he's managed to find his own style of playing T20 cricket. He has he has actually surprised me with the amount of boundaries that he can hit in this format, even though I knew he always was capable and had the ability in him. He's looking a lot more comfortable and controlled in his methods to do so. He scored 35 of 24 balls at a strike rate of 145.83. But unfortunately, so far, as it's been throughout the tournament, he hasn't really had a partner to stick around with him. Once again, Quinton de Kock lost his wicket early on with for 7 runs. He then lost John Smuts as well. But he lost his wicket before John Smuts, sorry. So after losing Quinton de Kock, it made it difficult for him to really, I would say, build a partnership with someone. So it does become a bit difficult for players to do so. And he had to kind of take the initiative with regards to most of the striking. He took Durban Supergiants to 50 before losing his wicket in the 7th over. But then, once again, John Smuts lost his wicket for not too many runs, and the team was under pressure, 65 for 3 after 8.2 overs. Marcus Stoinis, Heinrich Klaassen played a decent knock, 31 of 17, 3 sixes and a 4, 182.35 strike rate, but struggled to really kick on and score that milestone. Marcus Stoinis did nothing. He only got 1 run under his belt. But then came an amazing push and finish from 2 players. Vian Mulder, absolutely fantastic today. Been getting a lot of scrutiny recently online. Been getting a lot of scrutiny on social media about his ability. And today, he pulled one out of the hat. He scored 52 of 29 balls, 3 fours and 4 sixes at a strike rate of 179.31. And he was helped out by Dwayne Pretorius, who got 23 of 21 balls with 2 fours. But Vian Mulder was definitely the star with the bat for DSG. In fact, he took them to 151 before losing his wicket. Dwayne Pretorius also in the last over lost his wicket. So both of them lost their wicket in the final over. Once again, some good death bowling by Otniel Bartman to make sure that they don't get too ahead of themselves with regards to the target, that the target wasn't too far away from them to be able to chase. But on this surface, it was quite tricky, and spinners were going to always be the ones that were going to cause the most havoc from on this particular pitch. And Simon Harmer did exactly that. He was excellent today, 4 for 18, economy of 4.50, only went for 1, 6, and 2 fours. He was sublime. He basically took out the entire spine of the Durban Supergiants. He got Matthew Brzezinski out, John Smuts out, Heinrich Klaassen out, Marcus Stoinis out. So he took out the entire basically attacking spine of the team, the dangerous men. He just dismissed all of them. So he really bowled phenomenally today, and we have to give him a lot of credit for playing that the way that he did. So that is something that we need to also highlight from a bowler's perspective, because Simon Harmer for SEC was brilliant. He gave them the best chance, especially this attack who have been in tremendous form. He's really come back beautifully throughout the tournament. I mean, his first game, he didn't do so well. He went for 53 runs in his first games against the Super Giants. But then in Cape Town, he was a lot better. He got 0 for 19. But today was magnificent, 4 for 18. Absolutely phenomenal. And he made sure that DSG only scored 159 for 7 in the 20 overs. But then as a reply from the Sunrisers, it was pretty much the same as DSG. We had Jordan Herman at the top of the order, scoring 25 of 26 balls, 3 fours, and 1 6. David Malan lost his wicket for 2. Tom Abel lost his wicket for 1. Then Aiden Markram was looking really good. 38 of 29 balls, 3 fours, and a 6. He gloved one to the keeper and thought that he didn't. But the snicko afterwards, the DRS showed that he did touch it with his glove. But then came a magnificent partnership between Tristan Stubbs and Marco Jansen, because Patrick Kruger went out for a duck and piled on the pressure there too. They were 97 for 5 by 14.3 overs. Now, with 5.5 overs left, and you only have 97 on the board, it was definitely looking like the Sunrisers were not going to take this one home, because the pressure that DSG put on the opposition was just phenomenal. Maharaj bowled well today. Again, 1 for 22 in his 4 overs. He really piled on the pressure and made it difficult for them to run away with the game. And Marcus Stoinis 2 for 27 as well is something to talk about. But as you know, I'm going to obviously focus on the South African players that played today. But what we saw after that by Tristan Stubbs and Marco Jansen was absolutely sublime. There is no other praise that I can give it. It was fantastic performance. They both together at the crease with only with 97, like I said, with 97 on the board. After Patrick Kruger fell, Marco Jansen joined Tristan Stubbs, and they went bang, bang all around the ground. Massive sixes from Tristan Stubbs, 3 of them, in fact. Marco Jansen with the 6 as well. Tristan need a couple of 4s as well, 5 4s, a strike rate of 178.37, 66 of 37 balls, and Marco Jansen 24 of 14 balls. But what made it even more fantastic was their running between the wickets. They pushed for the 2s, for 3s, and they worked their way back into the match to the point of a victory with 4 balls remaining. So what I enjoyed about Tristan Stubbs' innings is that he didn't come in and just try to swing immediately. He really worked his way into the match and backed himself in the last 5 overs to take them over the line. Now, I could see the belief in his face when wickets fell and the next batter came out to the middle to talk to him. You could see in his face that he believed that he could take the team over the line. He believed that his team will take a victory. And when Marco came out, the same conversation seemed to be happening in the middle as well. And Marco looked like he was up for the challenge, and he proved that today as well. Once again, at the bottom, playing a magnificent knock. So the two of them showed a phenomenal composure and phenomenal attacking ability at the end to take their team over the line. And SEC obviously won the game by 5 wickets with 4 balls remaining. They got to 163 for 5. So play of the match was Simon Harmer because he kind of set up the victory. It shouldn't have been as difficult of a chase as they made it. But ultimately, it was Tristan Stubbs and Marco Jansen, particularly Tristan Stubbs, who was absolutely fantastic to take the team over the line. So that's the summary of SEC and DSG. Now, I'm going to move on to the next game because it was an important game for JSK, who didn't rack up a win until this point. So they were the team that were really struggling. and finding it very hard to find their form. I mean, three losses they had under their belt. I mean, yeah, three losses they had under their belt until this point, and they were in desperate need of a victory. They started off the game pretty well from a bowling perspective. And at that point, when they had Pretoria Capitals 67 for 6, I really thought that at that point they were going to bowl Pretoria Capitals out cheaply and not um, allow them to take the game away from them. But we had a new player into the team for Pretoria Capitals, someone that we all were sad picked up a contract because we wanted him in New Zealand. And Carl Verreina today came in and played a sublime knock, 72 or 52 balls, 7 fours and a 6, 138.46 strike rate, and anchored the innings for his team. Players were falling around him left, right, and center. Like Riley Rousseau lost his wicket for a duck. Colin Ingram got out for a duck. Will Jacks got only one. Phil Salt 12. Corbin Bosch 9. But Wayne Parnell, the captain, stuck around with him a bit for a little while. But Kyle Verreina batted until the end, took his team to 167 for 9. He was fantastic for the Pretoria Capitals today. And you know what made me impressed with him and what puzzled me too is we always talk about Kyle Verreina in Test cricket, and we always say that he doesn't move his feet. But today he was dancing around the pitch. I mean, even they had a little scoop as well, which I was like, where did that come from? Even his one sweep shot that he hit for 6. I mean, I was like, Carl, why can't you move your feet around like this in Test cricket when you're playing Test cricket? Because he looked like he was having fun out there in the middle, and he was playing with complete freedom, movement of the feet, all his boundaries. Majority of them were because he moved his feet into good positions, shuffled around in the crease. He didn't just sit still, like per usual. And I guess technique isn't as important in white ball cricket, perhaps, but well, T20 cricket as maybe in Test cricket. But today, the stroke plays that he played was with some good technique. I feel that the way he moved around in the crease was fantastic. He played with touch and tease and ran between the wickets quite well as well. So played some beautiful strokes, and I think that 72 was a very impressive 72. It might not be as fast as some of the other ones that we see in the tournament, but I think it was incredibly important for his team for that 72. I mean, when the rest of the team is struggling like that and falling around him, the ability to be able to stick it out and score 72 runs is very commendable, and I think it should be it's very admirable as well. So I think that it's something that we need to look at, and something that we need to praise. I didn't I wouldn't have said this before the game that Kyle Verreina would have probably been the top scorer for Pretoria Capitals uh, at the Wanderers on a ground where you can hit the ball a mile, as JSK proved. So we're going to move on to the chase. Before I get to the chase, Nandre Berger, first and foremost, bowled excellently today again, 2 for 30. He was actually quite lethal at the top. And Lazard Williams was fantastic again, 3 for 26, economy of 6.50. He was very good today again. And I think he bowled extremely well, took wickets at the right times, put the pressure on Pretoria Capitals at the right times. Imran Tahir was okay. He's still a little bit more expensive, but I mean, at Joburg, on that ground, I didn't think the spinners would have a phenomenal game, to be honest. It was a pitch for seamers, I would say. That the seamers, slower deliveries, etc., would be the key. But I think Nandre Berger bowled with some amazing speed and accuracy, and it was a fantastic performance from Lazard Williams to kind of subdue them in a way. Um, Joburg Super Kings then came out to bat, and once again the opening pair failed. It's so sad to see Riza Hendricks lose the form that he was in. It hasn't been his tournament so far. He's really struggled, and I don't know what it is exactly. But when he's out of form, he it's sad to see because it's like he looks like puzzled at the crease, I would say, and almost like he doesn't know how he's going to get himself out of it. And that's very sad to see because when he's in form, he's absolutely sublime to watch. So I'm really hoping that the rest of the tournament can be uh, positive for him and he can turn things around. Faf has been absolutely terrible in this tournament so far. I mean, a lot of wickets he looked, a lot of the wickets that that fell with regards to Faf du Plessis have been quite embarrassing, I would say. It's not wickets that you would like to see, uh, almost looking tangled up at the crease. Uh, I wouldn't go as far as saying clueless at the crease, but it's almost like, what is the word I'm looking for? He almost gets, it looks like baffled at the crease. I would say like he gets tied up. That's actually what I wanted to say. Like he gets tied up in the middle and loses his wicket, bowled or whatever the case may be. But so far in this tournament, he hasn't looked good. So I don't think that from this tournament we can. I think we should maybe put to rest. I've been saying it. Maybe put to rest this whole T20 World Cup thing with regards to Faf based on his form in this tournament. Um, I don't see any justifiable reason to bring him in, especially with guys that are currently in form and are performing well. So there could still be a opportunity. I mean, it's not the end of the tournament yet. And luckily for Faf as well, if he does want to play in the T20 World Cup, luckily for him, South Africa's other openers also haven't performed, other Quentin de Kock, Riza Hendricks. So we've got a newbie that we are all pushing forward to be in the World Cup squad, which is Ryan Rickleton, performing magnificently. And maybe another player like Rassie van der Dussen, who's probably trying to push for that T20 World Cup as well. Also, which he said, I think he mentioned it in a press conference that there is a genuine push for him. He wants to try and make that squad. So they've been putting on a show as an opening pair. Imagine if South Africa go with that opening pair at the World Cup. It would be quite funny to if that actually took place. It would be quite interesting and brave, I would say, if they made a decision like that. But yeah, from Faf's perspective, he hasn't looked good at all. And it's not like it's necessarily a good wicket to concede, I would say. Like I said, he almost looks like he's tangled up at the crease. He gets in his own way, almost unsure of what shots to play to the opposition bowlers, and that is worrying for JSK as well as for if he wants to push for South Africa. The informed Leos Deploy, he scored 33 of 21 balls. But and Stubbs Makanya batted really well today. Played some very good shots for his 40 of 31, 4 fours and a 629.03 strike rate. He was really good. That partnership in the middle solidified the innings for the opposition. Louis Deploy went out when they were on 86, and then Stubbs went out on 94. And that's when I thought the game was going in the Pretoria Capitals' favor. And I thought, wow, JSK is really going to need something exquisite and phenomenal to win this game. And they got exactly that. Moeen Ali hit the ball out the park for his 1-6 and 1-4. He scored 25 of 21. But Donovan Ferreira was absolutely fantastic today. Under pressure, teams, the team's tournament on the line, game on the line, all the pressures on him, and he delivered. 50. He scored the fastest 50 in the SA20 so far. 50 of 17 balls. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was striking the ball cleanly out the park, and there's not many criticism. I don't have any criticism for the way he played today. I think his game was absolutely fantastic. Sorry, he scored 50 of 18 balls, not 17 balls, 6 4s and 3 6s. He reached his 50 with. And I mean, I like the way he set himself up for the finish, because he started off his innings. He wasn't necessarily going at that rate at the beginning, at the start of his innings, as he got his eye in, and then he just went and he didn't look back, and he punished Nisham. He really punished Nisham, and he actually didn't stop until his team was over the line. He continued hitting boundaries, which I like to see. I don't think he knows any other way. But he was absolutely fantastic. He struck at a strike rate of 280, and he had 7 4s and 3 6s, and took his team over the line. They ended up with 171 for 4 and won by 6 wickets with 12 balls remaining. And that was a crucial victory for his side, getting their first win on the board. And they will now hope, and they also go off the bottom of the table. Yes, Pretoria Capitals have a game in hand, but they go off the bottom of the table and they have 6 points on the board. So JSK will now need to continue this momentum. And it's the right time now for the rest of the players to step up now. None of them have performed so far except Louis Deploy. And now others are starting to come to the party. I mean, Moeen Ali did come to the party in the last game. So he again played a very matured knock today. I think he had the whereabouts to say, you know what, Don's hitting the ball cleanly. Almost every delivery, he looks like he's going to put it at the park. Let me just hit a quick single here and let him face. And then Donovan just went crazy. So well done to Donovan. Well done to Stubbs. Well done to Lazard, Ferreira. All of the guys were fantastic today. It was a real finishing masterclass from the players that needed to finish today, and different types of finishing we saw today. We saw Verreira's approach, which was more measured, making sure that he sticks at the crease and stays there till the end. And then sometimes the partner on the other side would hit the big boundaries. And then we saw Tristan Stubbs and Marco Janssen put on a show with power hitting. I think Tristan Stubbs' knock was more slow building, whereas Donovan Ferreira as well showed some similar traits, but went at the opposition almost immediately. Gave himself some time to get settled in, and then he just went for it. So a finishing masterclass today in the SA20. It was absolutely fantastic to watch it. Very entertaining, I must say, to watch it. But that's T20 cricket for you. It's quick, bang, over. So let's get into some of the live chat to see what you guys have had to say. Khan is giving his World Cup squad here. Riza, Rickerton, Riley, Aiden, Klaassen, Miller, Don, Nokia, Berger, Williams, Shamsi playing 11 for T20 World Cup, says Kani. Lorenzo says Riza should get a reality check. As you know me by now, Khalid, I want the players who's in current form to play, as that's our best chance of winning a World Cup. Currently, Riks, Rasif van der Dussen and Brzezinski are ahead. Yeah, but we also need to understand that cricket's a little bit different where we're going to be chopping and changing players then or teams all the time, then we're just going to go on form alone always from a tournament to tournament. I think international form is important as well because it's a whole different level. So I wouldn't carry over the SA20 momentum of form into international cricket form holistically. I would look at multiple factors. So, for example, Quinny hasn't been in the best of form internationally, and he hasn't been in the form SA20. So he hasn't shown any spark to he hasn't shown any signs of a spark that he's going to be coming back in form internationally. So that will make me start thinking about his selection. Riza showed sublime form in T20 cricket uh, and then the India series he dipped, and he's continually and he's dipped again in the SA20. So we're gonna have to look at his form again. First, I would look at those two players if they can recover their form, and if they don't, then I would go with someone like Ryan Rickleton. Um, and um, talk about options at the top of the order. Uh, I think it is very valuable that we've got two occasions where players that have been in the T20 squad now have opened the batting together, Quinton de Kock and Britsky, and now we've got Rassie van der Dussen and Ryan Rickleton. It's both South African pairs in both teams. And then you've also got obviously Riza and Faf. But it's good to see that because what it could end up happening is you take two pairs and you try them out together. You can kind of do that at the moment. With Riza, with Rassi van der Dussen and Ryan Rickleton. You can kind of just take them both and put them in and see them together as a pair if they can take that form from the SA20 into international setup when we do play another series then. Lorenzo says, of course, and Riza, yes, I've said it as its facts. I'll say it again. We're not here to hold hands. We're here to win a World Cup. If that means you open the batting with Rickleton and Rassi van der Dussen, then so be it. Yeah, so I don't think anybody's place should be. I don't think any player should be undroppable. First and foremost, I think every single player should feel like their spot is up for grabs because I believe that creates competitiveness within the team and builds a winning mentality. It doesn't. It eradicates complacency, which I think is important. You need to have it when you're building a team environment. You need to make sure that your players don't become complacent. They mustn't feel like, oh, this is my spot. I feel like they must always feel that there's someone to take their spot if they don't perform. I think it just gives them extra incentive to push, and I think that's the way you get the best out of your players. So it's good the situation that we are currently in. RJ says DSG should consider bringing in Tony DeZorzi. Um, that that could be an option, I think, as well. Lorenzo, we can't go into the World Cup with two out of form openers, Quinton and Riza, as we're playing one series before the World Cup starts. So time is limited for Quinton and Riza. Yeah, so the end of this tournament needs to be very important for the both of them to gain some momentum. I don't think Rob will drop the two of them, though, regardless of what happens in the SA20, to be honest. But he needs to at least consider them in one or two games leading up to the World Cup. And I hope that he does select him. He selects the right players in the squad. We've been rewarding form so far in both formats, Test and ODIs, and I hope they do it in T20s too. Arman says Quinton will come good in the upcoming games. Let's cross fingers. So bold decision need to be made. We can't select an expectation all the time, as expectations never ever lead um, ever lead out a World Cup in our trophy cabinet, or never ever put a World Cup in our trophy cabinet. So go in with a different approach. We can't sit here and bash Bavuma for being out of form and still playing, but we can't do so for Quintecock and Riza. I don't care who you are, but if you're not performing, you shouldn't play. Armin said missing Temba in SA20. Lorenzo says pin this. White ball cricket is Verreira's best format, as technique doesn't really matter in white ball cricket. That is a very bold statement that you're making. Akshay says Subs Makanya made the use of the opportunity he got. Lorenzo continues by saying Kyle is a hand-eye coordination player. He never ever used his feet much, and that's why I say you'll be more successful in white ball cricket for SA rather than test cricket, as bowlers can work you out. Um, Domestically, I see Kyle move his feet a lot more domestically. I don't know what's happening in test cricket. And when you watched him today, he was moving his feet. So it is strange to me why that's not. I think maybe he's getting too much in his head. Maybe over analyzing the situation and what it requires when he walks out to the middle in test cricket. I think he's maybe allowing the conditions and what he should do in that particular conditions get into his head a little bit too much. I don't know. It's maybe would be interesting to ask him. I did ask. I think I asked him in the show that I did for the One Day Cup victory when they won the One Day Cup. I interviewed him and Abdallah Bayumi after they won the One Day Cup trophy, and I think I did pose a question about technique to him, and he said, I think he did say that it's not. He doesn't have an issue with his technique. So, yeah. Kani says Lazard might be picked ahead of Ngidi for the third seamer spot. Lazard is performing on flat pitches. That's a fair point. But Ngidi is also performing on wickets that are different as well. Gaurav Breva's performance needed. Nsiba says, people don't entertain the idea of Kyle for T20 and ODI, please. We have enough firepower there. He needs to stay in test only. Kani says, I won't like to see Riza being dropped based on SA20 form. Current international form matters. If he gets out of form international cricket, he might get dropped. And that's what I said a little bit earlier. We've got international form should count more than SA20 form. I don't think it should just be based on SA20 form. There should be a combination when they look at everything when it comes to selection. I don't think they can just say, okay, this dude played well in the SA20. Okay, he's going to play in the World Cup now. I think there needs to be kind of opportunities given then. So the SA20 form should allow you an opportunity to play for the national side. And if you perform there, then conversations need to be had, particularly if others around you aren't performing. That's how I think it should be done. Big selection headache for Rob, says Amnan. Slow pitches in Caribbean might suit Rasi kind of player. Slow pitches might also suit Ngidi type of player as well. Lorenzo says T20 cricket is a lottery, Khalid. No one takes it seriously, so I will go with the current form players in T20 cricket if that means us winning the T20 World Cup. ODI Test cricket, of course, way different. T20 cricket is quite a lottery, you're right. But I do still think it's still a form of cricket, and I think the confidence factor. You see, in T20 cricket, when you're out of form, it's very difficult to play your way back into form. So, for example, what I mean by that is in ODIs and in Test cricket, you've got balls to get your eyes in and to settle yourself and play like a gritty knock to get yourself back into form. In T20 cricket, you kind of don't have the time for that. You just have to go back again and try again. So it is a bit of a lottery, you're right. And it can be quite up and down. And this scenario is a little bit different because I think that the form that Ryan's in, it's consecutive half centuries. There's gonna be a point where he dips and doesn't score runs. How he recovers from that is going to be important. Because imagine he's going on this run now. We're all saying he should be in the T20 World Cup. Then he goes on a form of he drops and he doesn't score another run for the rest of the SA20. Then what are we going to say? Are we still going to say, you know what, the form that he showed at the beginning of the tournament has proven that he deserves opportunity? Do we still say that he deserves opportunity to start, even though he's gone off form towards the end of the tournament? How does this work? If we were playing the game tomorrow, by all means, but we're not. So there's months in between. So how do we go about that selection process is the question. Kani says, Khalid, for me, Klaassen, Miller, and Nokia are sealed in the playing 11. Amin says, love the maturity of Tristan. Kani says, Khalid, seeing Temba on the bench kind of feels sad. He wasn't even laughing and shows no emotion at all. They need to pick him in the 11. I wish he could just go and play in New Zealand. Temba should, yeah, should be in New Zealand, not in SA20. Thank you, Armin. Lorenzo says, and that's why we'll never ever win a World Cup, Khalid, as we never make bold decisions like other top nations when it's crunch time. I can guarantee you Quinton Cock and Riza will open even if they're out of form. Yeah, for the T20 World Cup, we need to look at form closer to the tournament, I guess. I mean, T20 cricket is such a bizarre game. Like, a player can be out of form and then the next game can look fantastic. They can look completely uh, hopeless at the crease and then all of a sudden score 100 or 50. Like, look at Vian Mulder is a good example. In the beginning of this tournament so far, everybody was on Mulder's head. I saw a lot of people speaking on social media about um, he needs to get his act right and all of these type of things. And then today he scores a 50, a very good 50. To actually put his team into a decent position. So, what will we say now? So cricket is just a funny game like that. It has its ebbs and flows. It goes up and down. 1 minute the player is in form, then he's out of form. In that 1 minute he looks like a superstar and world class. The next moment he looks like a club cricketer. So, no offense to a club cricketer, let me say rather schoolboy cricketer. It's and it's something that we don't know how to actually assess properly, I would say. It's hard to assess that because cricket is a funny game like that. It can make even the most world class player look ordinary on some days. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Nsiba says, sorry, Temba is running out of time. That's why I say T20 cricket is a lottery, but the format is so short you can't carry players in a T20 cricket, especially in short tournaments. Yeah, but it's all about when do you measure that form from? That's the question. We don't play nearly enough cricket to only go on form alone. Because, like I said, if Ryan Rickleton falls off form tomorrow and doesn't score any runs, and then the next game he also struggles, and the following game he also struggles, then what do we do then? Because then you have Riza out of form, Quinton out of form, and then Ryan Rickleton will be out of form. So then you're sitting with only out of form players. And let's paint a scenario like that. What do you do when all of your players are out of form leading into a tournament? Then then would you pick? I think it's easier to say, yes, this player must play when they are performing. But what if none of them perform in the series ahead of the T20 World Cup? Then what do we do? That's the question. Let's do something different. As always, been a way to conservative, yet we still haven't won anything. So why not try something different? I'm all for trying something different. I've always been pro trying something that's a little bit brave. I think that maybe us being a bit brave would actually win us something for a change. It's the only thing that we haven't tried, so why not give it a go? And I think in a T20 World Cup, it's the perfect environment for you to do that because we aren't as serious about the T20 World Cup. Well, at least I'm not. I don't know how other fans feel. I assume fans aren't as serious about winning the T20 World Cup as they are the ODI World Cup. So it is a format that we can maybe try some new strategies and approaches. So let's be a little bit bold. Let's be a bit brave. And maybe we can try something different going into the T20 World Cup, perhaps. But like I said, the major talking point is the form talking point. It will be interesting to see what you guys will say when we find a scenario when all of our players are out of form, what we would do with selection at that point. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Please don't forget to subscribe and get us to that 5,000 mark. We're very, very close. So please get us there as soon as you can. Send this channel, send the links to all your friends and families and colleagues that feel who love South African cricket. Wait, Lorenzo just sent a message that distracted me. I just want to see quickly. I think you're missing the point, bro. Current form matters, especially in T20 cricket. Yes, body of work does count. I'm not saying select a player who scores 100 tomorrow. Body of work, of course, also. Yes, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with anything that you actually said tonight, Lorenzo. I think you made valid points. I'm just posing a question to the fan base as a whole on what will we do when, because this form of Ryan Rickleton can change tomorrow, and he can easily go out of form, and then Riza will can easily kick on and start scoring. So that I just want fans to understand that doesn't mean that what I'm not saying you, but I'm saying generally speaking, that doesn't necessarily mean that what Ryan Rickleton did in the beginning of this tournament is invalid. I think that the way he played in the beginning of this tournament still means that he needs to be selected in a squad. So that's why I always spoke about squads. I don't talk about the first 11 because I believe that first 11 should be picked on a number of factors. The coach will be able to tell. I mean, there's certain things that we don't see. We only see a player's form match day. We don't go down to the nets. We don't go, and we're not in the same hotel as the player. We don't know what's happening in their homes. In their homes, we don't know what happens before the match, after the match. We only see what happens in the middle, basically, and then in the press conference afterwards. So that's why whenever I speak about players getting selected, I speak about the squad, and then obviously you talk about the team on the day, and we can only talk of form and what we see. But a coach then needs to make a decision based on all of those other factors: net sessions, how is the player's mentality, what's his energy levels like, yes, the inform, yes, stats, yes, the rest. But there's multiple things that they will that teams will be selected on. Lorenzo says, let me say it in this way. If all our batters are out of form before the World Cup, then of course you select the tried and tested. But if there's a form players, then they have to be. Now, that's why I said yes. I agree, and that's what I thought you meant. Um, but it would be interesting to see whether they still make a bold decision, regardless of the players being all out. If players were all out of form, it would be interesting to see if maybe Rob Walter in a series before World Cups make some bold decisions regardless of the form. So, for example, if Quinton Cock and Riza Hendricks are out of form, and let's just say everybody's out of form, right? That scenario. I would like to see some bold decisions in a series before a World Cup, before he actually goes, and give Ryan Nicholton a chance to play with Quinton or with Riza or whatever the case may be, and see how they do, see how those younger guys do. Um, T20 cricket is a gamble, 100%. You can't guarantee that a player is going to do what Riza has done in international cricket, and you can't guarantee that a player is going to do what Ryan Nicholton's doing in the SA20. As you can see by someone like Riley Rousseau, he's made a name out of T20 cricket for himself. He goes up and down. There's some games that he will go and he'll be fantastic, and there's some games that he won't. Um, so that's something that's interesting to see. T20 cricket is a game that's obviously, like Lorenzo has mentioned, is a lottery, and you kind of have to go uh, with you kind of have to go with form. But I think that also conditions play a role. The wicket plays a role. Certain players will bat better on certain wickets than other wickets, even though it is T20 cricket. I don't get why Lawrence says I don't get why Riza's catching flack, being setting the international stage alight and showed excellent consistency. Yes, he's going through a dry patch, but that's cricket. These things happen. He's been amazing. Yeah, and that's exactly also what I said on the show earlier on. Lorenzo, I'm talking about T20 cricket here, Khalid, not ODI and Test cricket, of course. As you know, I could care less. Yeah, I know you're talking about T20 cricket. It's a format that I also don't really necessarily, I wouldn't say care about, because I think it's important to get the younger guys interested in cricket, or unknown guys that don't know much about cricket into the sport. It's a lot easier for you to introduce them to T20 cricket first, to let them have their first bite of the cherry before you introduce them to the longer formats. So I think it's important for the next generation to be lured into the sport, but to strategize and talk strategy and all of those type of things is hard. Um, do you pick players based on form, experience, all of those things, the conditions, pitches they're playing at, venues? Like, how do you pick your best T20 11? It's a difficult task. We see some teams just stick to their 11 and they just go with it, and it works for them. Some teams chop and change, and it works for them. So it's very difficult. Cricket's a difficult game when it comes to selection, because a player can be horribly off. Like I said, can be horribly off form yesterday, and then today they'll be look like the second coming of Tenduka. So like it's crazy. Lawrence says also not oblivious to the fact that the likes of Riza and Quinton de Kock need to step up and get some momentum going in the SA20, because some other oaks are putting up their hands. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So I would like to sit at the end of this SA20 tournament and then have this discussion. We're going to do a show, obviously, speaking about that. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the tournament goes. Because, for example, say, like I said, what if Rickleton has a great first half, bad second half? Quinton and Riza have a bad first half, good second half. What will the conversation be like then? I would be very interesting to see if that will happen. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon for another daily show. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace out, everyone.